Hello, and welcome to my channel. If you've been feeling like the world is just too loud lately, if your heart aches after the headlines, if your shoulders tense every time you scroll, then you found the right story. Because here, there's no debate to win, no opinion to defend, just the sound of your own breath and the memory of stillness returning. So go ahead and allow yourself to settle in now and subscribe to this channel so you can keep returning to the stories that soften, calm, and remind you who you are beneath the noise. So let's begin. The porch light is still on, a hypnotic story about surviving modern politics without losing your soul. Her name is Val, and lately the road felt too sharp. Not in the way knives feel sharp, but more like gravel under bare feet. Each step outside, onto the digital streets of social feeds, comment wars, or cable news, felt like trying to walk with no shoes. Every opinion seemed like a battleground. Every conversation, a potential landmine. She used to care deeply. She still did. But somewhere along the way, caring had begun to cost her sleep, her peace, her softness. She wasn't sure when the change began. Maybe it was a particular election. Maybe it was watching facts become optional. Maybe it was just the relentless noise. Day after day, it dipped on her like a leaking faucet she couldn't turn off. She found herself clenching her jaw while reading articles, tensing her shoulders during dinner conversations, scrolling like a ghost, eyes gazed, heart quietly breaking. And then one night, she did something strange, something her grandmother used to do. She turned everything off. Phone, TV, even the tiny ticking wall clock, and stepped outside. It wasn't dramatic. She didn't storm out. She simply reached for a sweater, slipped on old slippers, and opened the back door like it was a portal. And it was. Because out there, under the dusk-faded sky, there was no arguing, no outrage, no spinning wheels. Just air and stars and the hush of a world older than all this noise. She sat down on the porch step, and for the first time in what felt like years, she didn't feel obligated to have an opinion. The wind rustled gently through the trees, and Val remembered strangely about her 5th grade teacher, Miss Pennington, who once told her, "It's okay not to know what to say. Listening is its own form of participation." She remembered how, as a child, she believed in goodness, not because the world proved it, but because something deep inside her whispered it was still possible. And on that porch, with the scent of soil and stars, and silence thick in the air, Val heard that whisper again. Maybe the world was loud because it was hurting. Maybe the anger was a mask for helplessness. Maybe people weren't monsters, just scared, undeferred souls trying to make sense of chaos. Maybe politics didn't have to be her prison. Maybe, just maybe, her power didn't live in her argument, but in her attention. So Val made a quiet vow. She would stay informed, but not inflamed. She would care, but with boundaries, like a tree that grows tall because it knows where its roots begin. She would speak, but only when it brought peace or clarity, not more noise. She would vote, act, engage, but she would not hand over her joy as collateral. Because if the world was going to survive, it needed people who remembered how to feel, who still knew how to slow down, to listen, to drink tea in the evening light, to laugh at small things, to plant flowers even when the future felt uncertain. And so she began, each morning, 5 minutes with her hand on her heart. Am I leading with fear or with love? Each week, one small act of kindness, especially for someone who thought differently. Each month, a letter written, not to a politician, but to herself, reminding her of what the kind of world she believed in, not just the one screaming through screens. Over time, the sharpness softened, not because the road got quieter, but because she did. Unshakable, and like a lighthouse that didn't chase storms, but stood still, beaming light across the waves for anyone trying to find the shore. And if you were to ask her now, in the still of the late summer evening, what keeps her going, she might smile, touch her sweater sleeve, and simply say, because the porch light is still on, and some people just need to know there's still a place where it's safe to come home. So now, take a breath and let the story settle in you. Let it remind you of the quiet power you still have, not to control the world, but to choose how you move through it. Let it be okay to unplug sometimes. Let it be holy to rest. Let it be enough to tend to your own corner of the road with presence and hope. Because the road needs you clear, not overwhelmed, steady, not outraged. The world needs your porch light on. Hypnotic Induction, safe from the noise, a trance for political overwhelm. You can go ahead now and begin to allow the edges of the day to blur, as if you were stepping out onto the same quiet porch, just like Belle did. Notice the door closing softly behind you, and the air cooler, quieter, holding you in a hush that the world forgot was even possible. There's no need to argue here. No headlines. No feed to scroll. Just stillness and breath. Go ahead and let your breath slow down now, as if it too were tired of keeping up with the speed of opinions. Inhale gently and exhale even more slowly, as though you were exhaling all the noise you didn't realize you'd been carrying. That tension in your jaw, it can soften now. There is no debate here. No one to convince. No stance to defend. There's just you, and a quiet place inside you that's still whole, still calm, still wise. And as you breathe, you might notice a subtle shift, a loosening of what the world tried to make tight, a widening of what politics tried to narrow, a returning to yourself. Let your mind drift now to that image of a porch, of dusk, of a sky that doesn't care what side you're on. It just keeps being the sky. And beneath it, you, still here, still breathing, still whole. You may find that the more you picture that stillness, the more it begins to live in you, rooting into your nervous system, uncoiling beneath your ribs, a gentle clarity like a lantern glowing from within your chest. That's the part of you that the world can't reach, can't politicize, can't manipulate. It's the part that remembers. There is more to you than what you think about the world. You are not your opinions. You are not the comments you've read. You are not the exhaustion of trying to make sense of the chaos. You are something older, something steadier, something sacred. And as you go deeper now, even deeper, you may begin to feel what Val felt, that the most powerful thing you can offer this divided world is your undivided presence. So let it all go, just for now. Let go of the headlines. Let go of the scrolling. Let go of the outrage that's been clinging to your spine. Let it dip down your back like water into the earth. And notice what remains. You. You and the quiet. You and the knowing. You and the porch light still softly glowing in the dark. A beacon, not for the world to fix itself, but for you to come home. And you are home now, here in this breath, this body, this now. You can stay here as long as you like, letting each breath soothe you deeper. And when you're ready, you can rise, not to re-enter the storm, but to be the stillness within it. Because you remember now, you don't have to lose your soul to be a part of the world. You just have to stay anchored in the part of you that never left. And that part, that light, will always be waiting right there on the porch for you. So here are the key meanings. Number 1, modern political fatigue is real and valid. The story acknowledges the deep, often invisible emotional exhaustion caused by today's political climate, the overwhelm, anger, and helplessness many feel is not weakness. It's a signal, a sign that something internal needs tending. Number 2, stepping away doesn't mean giving up. It means reclaiming clarity. Val doesn't stop caring, She simply stops bleeding energy into every online fire. This models healthy disengagement, not as apathy, but as a boundary that protects inner peace. Number 3. The soul needs a different pace than the news cycle. News, social media, and opinion culture move too fast for the heart to process. The story suggests that our nervous system wasn't designed for this level of input, and it's okay to slow down. Number 4. Stillness is resistance. Presence is power. Rather than yelling louder into the void, Val learns to become a lighthouse, a steady, rooted source of calm in the storm, inviting others back into their own center. Number 5. Small rituals ground us in big storms. Her quiet vow to place her hand on her heart each morning, to write herself monthly, becomes a reclaiming agency in a chaotic world. Ritual is how the soul remembers itself. Number 6. The inner world must be tended, even as we care about the outer one. Val's journey is not about becoming uninformed, but discerning, choosing when and how to engage. She reclaims her attention as sacred territory. Number 7. Hope lives in the ordinary sacred. The porch, the stars, the stillness. These become symbols of a quiet goodness that politics can't touch. Beauty, connection, and presence remain available even when the system fails. And number 8. You are still the light, and the light matters. The final image, that the porch light is still on, is a metaphor of deep reassurance. No matter how dark the road becomes, the invitation to return to ourselves is always lit. And so, I want to thank you for listening, and just remember, the porch light is still on, and sometimes peace isn't something you find in the world. It's something you come back to in yourself. If this story brought you comfort, be sure to subscribe so you can have a place to return whenever the road gets too loud. And if you like your own personalized hypnotic story, crafted just for what your soul needs to hear, send an email to rhonda's@gmail.com, and that's a Rhonda without an H. So until next time, be well.